All right, we are recording.
Awesome.
Hey, Gerald, how are you?
Good morning. How are you doing, Carrie?
I am fine, thanks. You are on the West Coast, right?
San Diego, beautiful San Diego, which isn't so beautiful today because it's been kind of gloomy and rainy the last couple of weeks. So
That doesn't happen often in San Diego, does it?
no, we've had the whole year has been pretty much like that. So yeah, but not normal.
Oh, wow. My cousin lives in Santa Barbara.
Okay,
That's what, south of San Diego? Am I
that's
mixing it up?
north
Of
of
San
San
Diego.
Diego. Yeah, a lot north. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, they're always sending us beautiful pictures, and when it's snowing here on the coast, they're sending us pictures of beautiful Santa Barbara. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll check out a map and get those locations right. So anyway, thanks for coming today. Tell us
Thank
who
you for having
you
me.
are. Yeah, of course. Who are you? Why are you here?
Well, I'm Coach G from the west coast of San Diego, California. And basically, I'm a speaker, coach, author, entrepreneur, restaurantpreneur. If people don't know what that is, basically, I've been in the restaurant industry for over 30 years, actually closer to 35 years. And that's why I call myself a restaurateur, which kind of means somebody that is an expert with restaurants, which I probably consider myself to be. So that's a little bit about me. I love to travel. It's one of the things my wife and we really love to do. And what I'm doing currently is I love to speak at high schools to the special ed students.
That's awesome. Traveling is something near and dear to my heart. I don't know if you know, but we were living in an RV for a year.
Wow.
Yeah,
No, I didn't know that.
we're temporarily out of the RV, back in the big house, but we're hoping to get back in the RV and start our travels before too long.
Wow. So you like to just road trip it all across the country and stuff, huh?
We haven't yet. We were stationary, but the plan
Okay.
is to be mobile. I have two kids, and my dream is to homeschool the kids in the real world.
Awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
they're
Well,
4 and 2 right now, so we have a little time. But
I
I
think
feel like there's
education.
no better education than the real world.
I think so too. I think the education system is broken. It's a system that's outdated by at least probably 50 years. And the way technology and things are today, we definitely need to educate ourselves. And I tell people all the time, self-education is really important. Yeah, school is great and everything, and teach you the reading and writing and that kind of stuff. But as far as the real world, you need to be self-educated and learn on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say learn something different, learn somewhere different, and learn differently.
Now that's awesome.
You
Like
know,
those
you
three
need the
things.
basics. You need to learn to read, to write, to do some basic math, but there's so much more out there beyond that that's just not often covered in the school system. You've got to be
Uh,
curious and just start finding stuff out.
I agree 100%. They
So,
don't teach you to survive in the real world.
yeah, for sure. So you say Coach G. What's that
Coach G.
mean to you and to other people?
Well, Coach G was just kind of something that I got almost a year ago. I went to a mastermind, actually a speaking mastermind. That's where I met some of my top buddies right now. And I was trying to come up with, some kind of name for myself. And we were going down the list and they were like, well, what about Coach G? So I was like, and my name's Gerald. So fit, G and G. And my book and different things that I speak on is finding your genius. So I think it just stuck. Coach G, the genius coach, speaking genius, your genius within. And everybody calls me that. So it's just kind of stuck with me for over the past year and a half or so. And so I kind of, I kind of like it. And that's how, and it's easy to remember. And anytime Facebook, YouTube's, anything like that, or any seminars I go to or masterminds, people remember Coach G much easier than they do my real name. So stuck.
Yeah, it has a great ring. I need a name. I don't have a name. I don't even have a business name. My old business name was Building Blocks Education, but that's not really even what I do anymore.
Yeah.
So I need to work on that, but nothing's hit me yet. So
How about
yeah.
CP?
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, I call myself a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That could work. I'm gonna write
Coach
that down.
CP, Coach CP. It works. It's easy to remember.
Yeah. Um, so you just said the word mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that the people listening to this are teenagers who feel like they're lost in school, who feel like they're failing school or being told that they're failing school, maybe because the system's failing them. Also hoping their families are going to listen, and hoping to inspire them and give them a little bit of wisdom that they don't have to sit around and bump along through school, that there's so much more out there. So
Right.
tell them what is an entrepreneur, what is a mastermind, like what are these words that we're throwing around that they may be sitting there thinking like, what in the world are you talking about right now?
Okay, basically entrepreneur first. An entrepreneur is somebody that has their own business, and they not so much like if you see somebody down the street that maybe has a McDonald's, right? A lot of entrepreneurs will not consider McDonald's owner an entrepreneur because they're still working in the business 24/7. Now, if you happen to be the owner of maybe 5 or 10 McDonald's, and you're kind of like you have all these people working underneath you, then you can consider yourself an entrepreneur. But if you're like a one-off, you had one Taco Bell or one McDonald's or something like that, but you had to actually work in that business, you still have a job. And then you wouldn't be considered an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is somebody that basically works for themselves, has a business that they created, and is actually having income, and they're able to be what they call have financial freedom and freedom in life, where they can choose come and go when they want to, and you have residual income coming in, which means that you can basically be sleeping and money still rolling in, and that's what an entrepreneur is. Now, as far as masterminds have been around a long time, hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. Actually, people consider Jesus Christ and the disciples a mastermind because he was the leader. He's the one that started the mastermind, and his disciples were part of the mastermind, and they were going around trying to teach people about Christianity. And so that was probably the first, if not the biggest mastermind. And in our time, not so much our time, but because they are all long gone now, you have Edison and you have Ford, which they had their own mastermind. And I can't remember the third person, but there was a third one that was the very first mastermind that started it all, where a lot of the books came from. Think and Grow Rich and different things like that started with that mastermind. Basically, what a mastermind is, two or more people that get together with the same vision and goals, and to help each other build their entrepreneurial businesses and their companies that they created, and they just help each other because 2 brains, 3 brains, 20 brains are more powerful than one, and they use all of that to help each other. And it's not so much they're working on the same business, but they're helping each other with each and every one of their businesses to grow and to be better. Because like Ford was not very bright. And people say it all the time. It actually a short story with Ford that he was called ignorant by a magazine or a newspaper article, and he took them to court and sued them for calling him ignorant. And he actually won in court because he said, I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. I can get on my speed dial and call anybody to get the answer to anything I need. And I consider that as a genius. So he had a mastermind of people that were much smarter than him. And that's what in my opinion, that's what a mastermind is, that you surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, more successful than you, that help you to become and to grow and to be on their level.
I love that. I've never heard that story. I think it's a great way of explaining it. I'm always asking everyone what their definition of a mastermind is, because I'm starting one for teens.
It's a
Not
great idea.
necessarily focused on entrepreneurship, although I really do want that to be a part of it. At least everyone walking away with a side hustle idea.
Yes.
But
Smart.
I want to put this group of teens together who are relatable to one another, and we work on personal development, and we do all these things that a lot of times these kids are sitting around thinking about, like, oh, I have to wait until high school's over. But that's not true.
Not
So
true.
absolutely.
I wish I
So
would start earlier. A mastermind could be anything. A mastermind could be the kids getting together and helping each other get better grades. That's a mastermind right there. They can get together and start creating a business while they're still in high school, and they can get together and start masterminding about, if they're in sports, how to become better players, or how to go to college and get a scholarship in college. That's a mastermind right there.
yeah, I think those are great examples. Um, so I brought you on here, I guess, because when was it? August, September? I met you at this event called Thrive.
Yes, thrive.
Yes, it was awesome. It changed my life. It really did. I
Mine.
was skeptical going in. I was like, I don't need a conference. I can just do what I'm doing. Everything's great. And then I actually think, I was reflecting on this morning. I think that you were really a large part of getting me moving in my new mindset and my new goals. You stood up at, I don't know, maybe it was the VIP dinner or something. You stood up and asked a question about how can you get more speaking engagements with schools and give back to schools and give back to kids. And I remember I felt like a little middle schooler writing you a love note or something. And I said, like, I really need to connect with you, but now right at that moment wasn't the time. And I don't know if
Right.
I gave you my phone number or whatever it was. It was kind of
Yep.
crazy.
Yep. You did. You walked up to me and kind of around my shoulder and threw a phone number on my table and said, "Hey, I want to connect."
Well, I'm
Yeah.
really glad we did. Um,
Yeah.
and so I guess I remember you had just not a good school experience, right?
Yeah. Yes and no. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
what you make of it.
that's very true, and we can't get stuck in the past. We always have to move forward. But
Correct.
a lot of the kids I work with and their families are just really dragging. You know, they feel
Yeah.
beaten down for standing out. They feel like nobody understands them. They're always getting in trouble. They tell me my brain doesn't work. They tell me they're lazy. Their teachers and oftentimes their families say they're lazy when,
Yeah.
okay, some kids are lazy, right? But a lot of times it's just, it may look like lazy on the outside, but they're giving 110%. They're working 60% harder than someone who doesn't have ADHD or who doesn't have a learning disability.
Right.
But from the outside, it might not look like that. So I'm really curious. What was your school experience like?
Okay. Well, it's twofold. It's good and bad. Um, I was I was held back in the third grade about when I was around 8 years old, and that was the first time that when I do my talks, I consider being labeled dumb. And then in junior high school, I was put through all these academic tests, and they diagnosed me with a learning disability in junior high school, and that's the second time I considered myself being labeled dumb. And then in high school, they put me right into special ed classes, and I was through special ed all through junior high school, all the way through my senior year. And that was the third time I was labeled dumb. And of course, you hear all those labels that are put on you. You're dumb, stupid, worthless, good for nothing. You're going to amount to, you won't amount to anything. You're not smart enough to go to college. You're not smart enough to get a good career. You'll probably be flipping burgers the rest of your life, which is kind of funny because I went into the food service industry, and I've done very well for myself over the past 30 years, making six-figure plus. So I did start out flipping burgers, but it wasn't because I was stupid. But that's what people tell you. And as kids, we're impressionable, where you believe what is you're told. So if you're told you're dumb and stupid day in and day out, you start to believe that, and you believe that you don't have a future. And what made it even worse, at 16 years old, I found out my girlfriend was pregnant. And so I really was in bad shape, where I thought, I'm not smart enough to take care of myself and get a good education and a good career to support myself. So how am I going to support a baby and a wife now too? And so it was really difficult. And I think one of the key things is that you're going to be told these things as you're growing up, and it's you have a choice. You can either believe it or not believe it, because for many years I believed that I wasn't smart, and that it's not true. We all learn differently, and that's kind of like what my book's about, and kind of like why I call the genius, right? The genius within. We all have a genius inside, and obviously mine wasn't reading and writing and spelling and math. It was something else. And you have to find what that something else is. It could be art, it could be music, it could be singing, dancing, it could be sports, it could be, you're a fighter, a boxer, MMA fighter, whatever the case may be, which is what I also do. And that's the key, is to find out what that is. And the problem is with me is I found out late in life. And that's why I want to help these kids find out earlier, just like you, get them started now while they're in high school, junior high school, grade school, because if we wait too long, they're going to bring that baggage into their relationships, into their careers, and they're going to believe I can't get that woman or that guy, or I can't get that job or that promotion, or go to college, or whatever the case may be, follow their dreams, because of the things that people are putting in their mind, which I call your mind is a garden. You either plant weeds or you plant flowers. It's your choice. And the weeds are all the things, the negative things that people are telling you, and all the flowers are the positive things. But you are your worst enemy and your worst critic. Most people plant their own weeds because it's what they tell themselves. It's bad enough out there that it's so negative in what people are telling you, but you're telling yourself even worse things, and you shouldn't do that. Now, I said there's a caveat. I said I had a good and a bad experience. There's the other side, is when I was in the band, I was in the choir, and I also played on the high school baseball team. And so those were the good sides, because I was living in my genius in those areas. And I was more of a person that was looked up to when I was, especially in band and choir and stuff, because I was, one of the top singers in the school. I would carry the tuba. I was in the brass, we called it the brass wall, which was 10 tubas. And we were like the men of men, be carrying these big, gigantic, massive instruments. And so the girls looked up to me, the guys wanted to be me. And so it was different. It was 50-50. And then I would leave that and have to go to my dumb class, right? And kids would ask me, "Hey, you're not in my class this semester?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm in a different class." As I'm walking to the back of the school, to the bungalows, to go to my dumb classes while the other kids go to their smart classes. So I was living kind of like a double life, and nobody knew that I was in special ed. I hid it from my friends and people that I knew in school, because I was ashamed of it. And so because when I was in sports and in music, I was a different person. And that's sad that people have to do that. And I don't want these kids to go through that, and understand that, hey, embrace your disabilities or your shortcomings or your shortfalls, because I use them to actually drive me to where I am today. And I use that label of not very smart, dumb, or whatever the case may be, as to make me the man I am today. So that's a little bit about the background in school. And that's why I'm giving back to these kids now, and letting them know that you have a future, you have a genius within inside. Let me help you find it and grow your genius, which is kind of what my book's about, the genius within, 20 principles to help you find and grow your genius.
So what would your recommendation be for someone finding their genius? I mean,
Well, one of the things that I grew up with the learning disability. I was told I couldn't read or write. So I read anywhere between 40 and 50 books a year, because the more you read, the better you get at it. And I used to look at books and say, "I can't read. I'm not going to read that book. It's 200, 300 pages long. There's no way I would read that." And they say that uh, most people, the average person, reads one book a year. That's pretty sad. One
yeah,
book a year.
yeah,
And
that's really sad.
yeah, and actually, I actually read more than that. I would say maybe 5 books a year through my 20s and 30s and things like that. But I recommend that you read at least one book a month. And they say if you read one book a month, you will, in something that you like, you will be an expert in that field within 5 years. And I know somebody might say 5 years, that's a long time. But yeah, but if you don't, you're still going to be 5 years older, and you're not going to be any 5 years wiser or smarter. So break it down. I tell people, I don't like to read. It's hard to read. I look at a 300 pages. I'll never finish that. Well, break it down in small pieces. What I do, I look at it like, okay, read 5 pages a day, read 10 a day, read 20 a day. If you do the math, it's within a week, within a month, you can have a book done if you read 20 pages a day, if it's a 200-page book. So break it down in small pieces, and that's what I do. So that's one thing I would suggest that they start doing, even if they don't like it. Find something you like to read. If you're into sports, read about sports. If you're into music, read about music. If you're into podcasting, read about that. So find what your genius, what gets you out of bed, what excites you. Read about that. I'm not saying go out and read these big long novels because I don't read them. I find them boring and a waste of time. But I read about business books, development books, speaking, coaching, helping people. So that's what I read because I enjoy that. When I was younger, I used to read all Star Wars books. I don't know how many Star Wars books are out there, but I've read many of them because it intrigued me. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, a huge nerd when it comes to Star Wars. And so I used to read those because it interests me. So find what you like and read. So that's one. Two is the mastermind, is the coaching. Find somebody, the mentors. That was huge. When I was in high school, when I was in my special ed classes, I had this teacher named Mr. Harrison, and he made me believe that I can be whatever I wanted to be, that things were possible. Even in my mind, I didn't believe it, but he helped me believe that. And also my band teacher and also my choir teacher were two other people that were mentors of mine that made me believe what was possible. And so you have to find those mentors. And another big one, my superhero, my dad, he always helped me believe, and of course my mom too, but my dad I consider my hero, and the biggest of them all for me was him. He was my biggest mentor. But that's number two. Find a mentor, find somebody that's going to help you, give you that support, help you in the right direction, help you try not to make those mistakes. Because what we try to do everything on our own in life. And then we find out the hard way instead of finding somebody that did what we want to do and follow in their footsteps. And like I said, do it early. Don't wait like me till you're in your 40s and 50s before you start figuring out your stuff. And that's why I'm doing this, to help those kids. And also just, you have to change the mind. And you hear it, it's mindset, um, belief system, whatever you want to call it. You have to do that. It's like I said, it's all in the mind. Success is a choice. It's not you earn it, but it's a choice. You can either be successful or not. And I truly believe that you just have to change your mind, believe in yourself, believe in what is possible for you, and you can do anything that you put your mind to. You hear that all the time. It's a cliche. You can do anything that you put
Mhm.
your mind to. You can become and be anything you want. People say, well, you can't be in the NBA. Well, of course not. If you're 5'7" like me, you're not going to be dunking a basketball and be playing in the NBA. No, that's silly. But what the passion that you want, the dream, the goals you have out there. I have a saying, find that would be my third thing, goals. You got to have goals. Goals are what make things happen. And I have a saying, you have to have dreams and goals, but they have to be written down and action has to be taken. Because if you have dreams and goals and they're not written down and action taken, then they're just dreams and you might as well go back to bed because all you are is dreaming. And so that is very important. You have to have those goals and dreams. I believe every person on this earth has goals and dreams. It was given to you from your creator. You were put here for a reason. You were put here with talents and skills and what I call geniuses. You just have to find out what that is, put it into action, and make it come true. But it all begins with having the goal and the dream and then putting it in action and then having the belief system that it is possible. And you're going to struggle with it, but that's where the mentors and the teachers and the coaches come in to help you stay on track.
Yeah, for sure. My coach has me write a vision letter every 6 months.
That's good.
I'm writing a letter to myself about my 1 year future self, where I
Wow.
actually write and reflect on all of the things that I want to accomplish as if I've already accomplished them. And the first time
Awesome.
I did it, I felt ridiculous. I was like, this is like what they tell elementary school kids to do when teachers want to give them busy work and they don't know what else to have them write about, which is ridiculous because someone that young can't even understand that much
Yeah.
forward thinking anyway. But yet we ask kids to do it all the time. But just, the first time I just felt retarded.
Silly.
Like I didn't
Yeah.
want to do it. I did it because, I hired a coach. I'm paying him money, so I'm going to put my faith in him and at least give it a try. And
Hmm.
and then I realized it was that, and he has me read it every day, and I actually have it recorded now so that I can listen to it as I complete my meditation practice. I'll listen to this vision letter, and I realized that it became such a part of me, that it became so important that I couldn't not set those goals and take action.
Right.
So like you said, you have your dream and then you have your goals. I say I have my vision and then I have my goals and then I have my actions. Um,
Right.
and it's that emotional attachment. When you really attach to something that you care about, then you've just got to do it. It becomes too important to keep inside.
That's right.
And for a teenager, maybe that's not looking 10 years down the road, because that's hard to do, and especially if you have ADHD or whatever that might be affecting your
Yep.
brain.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But like, what is it right now that you care about? What in a couple months would you like to be able to say you've done? And it doesn't necessarily have to be job or business oriented. It can be, I want to say that I've free climbed this, I don't know what to call it, mountain in my town or whatever.
Right.
And you really just have to attach to that, and you have to have that emotional attachment to that.
You want to have short-term and long-term. That's just a short-term vision, a short-term goal. Weekly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out. If you can't see that far out, then start with a day. Start with an hour.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to get up. I'm going to read an hour. Right. I'm going to read an hour. That's a goal of mine. I'm going to read an hour today and make it a goal for every day. And that's a short-term goal. Yeah.
So do you have any defining moments that helped you kind of get from feeling like you were labeled dumb to where you are now? I know you said at 16, you found your girlfriend pregnant. That's probably a defining moment right there.
There was a defining moment. Yeah. One of them. Yeah. So that was one that made me realize I got to do something. And two was my senior year in high school. A gentleman from the county came out to offer special ed students a scholarship to college that they would pay for us to go to college. And I was like, I never thought I was smart enough to go to college. I never thought I would even think of going to college. And of course, I couldn't afford to go to college because I definitely wouldn't get a scholarship. So I was like, oh, I'll take him up on his offer. So I proceeded to go talk to this gentleman, and I said, I want to take the offer. And this is no lie, I'm not exaggerating. He looked at me and said, young man, you're not smart enough to go to college. You're dumb. You're stupid. You're in special ed, and you're probably going to drop out your first semester in college. Most kids that go through this program don't make it, and they drop out. You are not smart enough. So I went home literally crying to my mom and dad, and I told them what this gentleman said. And my dad said, wait a minute. And I told him I wasn't going to do it. I told Dad I'm not going to do it. And my dad said, wait a minute. This guy offered to send you to college, and he's going to pay for it, and you're not going to do it? He said, then you are stupid. So I was like, oh, light bulb went off. Kind of like my book, light bulb went off. And so I was like, huh. So I went back and I took him up on his offer. And that person, the things he said to me, I still remember today, and I still get emotional today. And that is what drives me.
Wow.
The thing he said, and what's crazy about it, I ended up going to college, and I ended up being an AB student in college. How that happened, kind of crazy, because I truly believe what they say, you are the sum of the 5 people you are around. And when they put you in special ed, who are you with? You are with others, dumb kids, right? Supposedly. You're not with the smart kids. So they put you in the dumb kid classes. So you become what you are around. In college, I did not have special ed classes, so I had to adapt, right? And I was hanging around other kids that had goals to graduate from college. And I was also going and doing something that I really liked, which was restaurant management, cooking. I was going to be a chef. I trained to be a chef, and it's something I was passionate about and I enjoyed. And even my math and English and those kind of classes, I actually ended up doing pretty well. I wouldn't say I got A's and A pluses, but I did get high C's and B's in those classes as well. So it was kind of crazy how that was probably, and getting the pregnancy and this guy telling me that I wouldn't amount to anything really put a fire under me that, okay, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And I've done that up to today. I have the saying, good isn't good enough. And people think I'm crazy because they're like, Gerald, we got a good score. No, it's not good enough. Gerald, we got good, our numbers were good at work. Nope, not good enough. And I think it's because that drives me to be the best I can be. It beats me to be better, to prove people wrong that don't tell me I can't do something, I'm not smart enough or whatever. I'm going to prove you wrong. And that is the difference, I think, in my life. And those are probably two of the most defining moments that happened to me in my younger age.
Wow. So like competing with yourself and then kind of, like you said, proving everyone else wrong.
Yeah, drives me. I'm very competitive and probably to a fault, that I probably let it too much that I have to win, not at any cost, because I don't run over people or backstab people or anything like that. But I'm very passionate about what I do in sports or any areas like that in business. I want to be number one, and I always tell myself that, like in my company. Will be 30 years in June. I say I am the best director in the entire company. Whether anybody believes that or not, it doesn't matter as long as I believe it. And my numbers over the years have proved it. And it's what I believe, because it's that belief system I was talking about earlier. You have to believe in yourself because nobody else is going to believe in you. You have to believe in yourself. And that makes the difference. And find something that drives you and pushes you to do it. And that's very important.
Yeah, and sometimes if you start with, I would call that an affirmation in a sense, even if you
Yes.
don't believe it, if you keep telling yourself over and over and over again, you will eventually start to believe it.
Yes,
Um,
true, 100%. And that was the other thing that I do now. I do affirmations every morning. I get up every morning and do a little bit of exercise, and then I do what I'm grateful for every day. Then I do affirmations, and then I write out my goals, and that's how I start my day. So that's kind of my morning routine that I do every day, and I try to work out. Um, in the evenings too, every day, at least 3 to 5 days a week, because I think exercise is very important, which is one of my principles in my book, along with reading and affirmations and goal setting. So
yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times we kind of separate those personal development things from our work or school or business. And I really did for a while too, but now I realize how related they are. Like, unless you're working on yourself, you're not going to be operating at maximum capacity in anything else. Like,
it's true.
you have to rock at life if you want to rock at your job or if you want to rock at school. Um,
Yes,
so
true.
many entrepreneurs are up early and they exercise and they do either meditate or have a gratitude practice.
Yep.
And it's a common thread. Everyone I talk to does that. What time do you get up?
It varies. Usually around 6. I usually get up around 6 o'clock. And I start. First thing I do is I turn on motivational videos from YouTube, and I listen to them while I'm getting ready for work. And as I'm doing my push-ups and sit-ups every morning, which I do about 100, 150 of each of those every morning, and I'm listening to those motivational Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Jim Rohn, Eric Thomas, people like that. I listen to every day. Probably minimum of 2 hours a day. On the way to work, I listen to them in my car and things like that. So I do that all the time. So yeah, I recommend that.
Do you have a great starting place as far as a motivational speaker or influencer, for someone who's never really looked at personal development for before, and preferably, a teenager, like, who should they look at?
Who should they look at for motivation?
Yeah,
Those people I just mentioned.
all of those people.
Well, probably more high school kids. I would probably steer them to Eric Thomas,
Hmm.
because he's more of a modern top speaker out there, top motivator out there. Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar are kind of my favorites, but both of them have passed on. And they're no longer around, but they're incredible, incredible speakers. Tony Robbins might be another one for the younger crowd.
Hmm.
I actually went to one of his seminars one time. I walked on the hot coals, and that
Oh,
was pretty incredible. Les Brown is another big one that I really like, because I don't know if you know this, Les Brown was diagnosed with a learning disability and all through school, and he had a twin brother, and they called him DT, which meant the dumb twin. And so that's his story.
no, I didn't know that.
That's why he does what he does, because he was told that he wouldn't amount to anything either, and he wanted to change people's mindset, and that's what started his whole career.
So many entrepreneurs, I think that data is like 80% of entrepreneurs either have been diagnosed with ADHD or show ADHD tendencies. Um,
Wow.
And when you look at our influencers and the people we pay attention to, a lot of them sucked at school.
Yes.
Either
Yes.
they dropped out, or they barely got through, or they hated it. And look at them now. Like,
True.
you don't have to be awesome at school to be awesome at life and to be successful and to inspire people.
Because they found their genius, and the genius isn't IQ. It's not, it's whatever you do well and whatever you're passionate about, that's your genius. And that those people found their genius, and their genius wasn't school. It wasn't, going on to college. It wasn't becoming a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. They found their genius. And you're absolutely right. It isn't all about the education side. You educate yourself, though. All those people, if you study them and you look at them, yeah, maybe they dropped out of high school or even dropped out of college, but they did not continue to learn. They did not stop learning every day and educating themselves by reading, by going to masterminds, by going to seminars, by listening to the greats, by following in other people's footsteps, have already been there, done that, to the direction they want to go.
I've started following this guy called Jay Duran, and he has a business called Culture Matters. And what he does is kind of help a business create a culture and then bring their employees into that culture and train them, basically just creating a community so that the business becomes more and more successful. But he says something that I have started to live by, and it's read, write, say. And you read something and you don't just take it for granted. You don't take it at face value. You have to think about it. You have to think if you agree, if you disagree, if you agree with parts of it, if you disagree with parts of it. Then you write about it. Or, if writing isn't your thing, I say voice text or just record yourself talking about it or whatever, because not everybody feels comfortable writing. It takes a while to get to that point. And then you say it. And when he says say it, he means you tell it to the world. And he has a book called 30 Days of Thought. And it's a series of essays that you're supposed to read, write about, and then speak. And he actually wants you to record live videos so you're speaking it to the world. And that's how you start to form your own ideas.
Yes.
And I think that's so important that whatever content you're taking in, that you're thinking about it and not accepting it as the truth, but thinking about it as what's right here, what's wrong here. Like, you're really engaging your mind. And that's also something school doesn't often do very well. Like, these books, and we're told that this is how it is and that we have to memorize it and spit it back.
Black and white. There's no gray.
Yeah.
But
I
like that.
I love
it. I really
it.
like that.
I love it. And he was a school dropout.
I wrote it down, so I like that.
I'll send you some videos.
Great. Before I forget, I wanted to go back to who I think the kids should listen to. Yeah. Caleb Maddox. Maddox is somebody that I think these kids, he's doing awesome things out there, and he's got this kid program now that's going on, which is eventually what I want to do in the future. And of course, they need to listen to me. So, I'm on YouTube. I do a lot of Facebook Lives and everything like that. So look up Coach G, Gerald Eldred, Coach G Eldred on Instagram. And so, they can, Coach G Motivates on YouTube. So they can, and of course, Coach G on, look it up, Gerald on Facebook also. So they should listen to me, because I give a lot of inspirational speeches too. So I throw myself in the ring.
Yeah, you should. You totally should. I mean, you really are part of why I'm here. It's like when you said whatever you said at that dinner, it just, a light bulb went off in my mind. I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Up until recently, I've just been doing academic support. Now, that's important.
Yes.
But I see the genius in these kids. I see their passion. I see their love. I see these incredible personalities.
Yep.
And they're just being shut down. And I can't let that happen anymore. They need to shine. They need a place where they can shine. And that's what I'm doing here. I want to spread the message that whoever's listening to this, you really are awesome. I believe in you. Even if I haven't met you yet, I believe in you. And you've just got to find that genius within.
You're right. You're doing great things, Carrie. And that's exactly right. You and I are on the same path. You and I have the same vision. that we want to make a difference in. I have a saying that to change the world one kid at a time, and or more so in my aspect, change one special ed kid or one kid that ADHD or whatever they're being labeled out there, that they can be and become anything they want. And we have to be the voice for them, the cheerleaders for them, to let them know that they can, because they're being told they can't in school. And it's sad because they're being told by the teachers, by the counselors, and even some of them by their so-called friends and then family members too, which is really, really sad, because I talk to these kids and they tell me the same thing, that, yep, my mom or my dad or my teacher, my counselor said I'll never be able to go to college or read or anything like along that line. And I think it's very sad. And that's the reason you and I are doing what we're doing, and you're doing great things. And I appreciate you for what you do. And I'm glad that we connected. I don't believe things are coincidence. I believe things are a coincidence, and everything happens for a reason. And I truly believe that it was meant for you to hear me and meant for you to come over. Now, I wrote it down in the book that I was going to be on this with you way back then. So I had a goal, and I haven't looked at that in almost a year now. And it was funny how you just called me out of the blue again. So like I said, you had a vision, I had a vision, and the vision came together.
That's awesome. And that's what we need to get all of these kids doing, is finding their vision and acting on it.
That's right.
I have like go ahead.
No, just saying, find their genius and act on it.
Yeah. I have a million other things I want to talk about with you, but I feel like this was such an awesome place to end that we should end here. And then maybe we'll just have to do this again. I really want to ask you about like your thoughts about college and so many other things, but this was just a really awesome ending.
It was. Let me give the kids some books that I think are very important, that they should also read. Not only because, like I said, if they have trouble reading, but that they truly need to start reading. First of all, Think and Grow Rich. That I think that every kid should read that book. The top people out there, the millionaires, the billionaires out there, the influence out there, every one of them will tell you they read this book, and this book is probably what changed their life. So that book is very, very important. Another one is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Very important book, especially for kids. And they also have kids versions of those different books as well. How to Win Friends and Influence People, and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Those are two Dale Carnegie books that I think the kids should read. Another one, a more modern book from Steve Harvey, is called Jump. And basically, in order to get what you want in life, you're going to have to jump off that cliff. But be careful, because when you jump off that cliff, you're going to get bruises and scratches and bumps and scrapes and bleeding. But that's where the growth is. It's in the journey, in the things that you go through, that you grow. And so I think that's very important. So that's just a couple of books out. There's a lot more. Like I said, I read 40 to 50 a year, but that's a good place for them to start.
Yeah. And I'd like to piggyback on that. Well, first, the first three you mentioned, Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. Mm-hmm. Everybody reads those books. Like every single person I've talked to that's in our little entrepreneurial influencer, care about the world niche group, whatever you want to call it, they read them, and they don't just read them once, they read them a million times.
Right.
I know a lot of people who read all three of those books every year. It's just a routine they're in.
Right.
And I'd say too, if you're not a reader, listen to the book. Start there. Audiobooks are just so prolific now. It's so much easier. Just pop it in and sit there and listen. Maybe one day you'll be inspired to read the words. Maybe you'll listen and read at the same time. But there's so many ways to get that information now.
There is.
Open the pages if you don't want to.
But I recommend reading it, because it's you get smarter. You're able to read better. You're able to write better. You're able to spell better. It's tough at the beginning, but you'll get better at it.
Yeah.
But you can listen to it audio, in your car, while you're working out, you can do it all kinds of different ways. Yep.
And then I like to piggyback on, every time you read something or listen to something, anytime you're absorbing content, you got to take action on it. You don't have to take action on 100% of it. But my goal is, every time I bring in a piece of content, I take some action on it.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're just filling your head with these ideas, which is great. But if you're not doing anything, then you're not changing your circumstances. You're still just bumping along. Nothing happens unless you take that action.
You're right. You said it earlier that all the influencers, all the millionaires and billionaires have read those books over and over again. There's a pattern there, and kids out there, you need to see that pattern. They're successful, and they read those 3 books over and over again, many other ones, but those top 3. So you got to look and see, okay, they're doing something. You got to follow their footsteps. And then the other one that they say, the number one thing to success, take action.
Yeah.
Because nothing will happen if you don't take action.
I had a tutoring business for 2 or 3 years, and it just kind of happened by accident, really. I stopped teaching because I had a baby, and I just started getting tutoring clients. And I kept telling myself, I'm going to have an online business. I'm going to have an online business. And I started reading books, and I started listening to podcasts, but I never took action. And then I got a coach, which was kind of an accidental happening from my husband. I got a coach. I went to Thrive, and I started taking action. And now I'm 100% online. I have like a new focus. I'm about to launch this mastermind. But again,
Awesome.
Nothing would happen if I just kept listening and reading and didn't take action.
That's right. And I did the same exact thing. I went to Thrive. I was doing all kinds of things, reading all the books, doing all the things, but nothing was really happening. I went to Thrive. I came back. I actually went to the mastermind where I got my name, Coach G, and I met a couple of guys. One of them is the chain breaker speaker, James Nelson, and he introduced me to Stephen Dela Cruz and Success Mastery, and I ended up hiring as my coach, and I ended up entering their mastermind, and he's my coach, and that has made the difference. I'm an author now. Since then, I'm speaking in a bunch of different places. I wrote my own book, Genius Within, another book I recommend the kids read, and I also am a co-author in 2 other books, and I write for Life by Design Entrepreneur magazine. So, and this is from a special ed student that couldn't read or write. So, and all made the difference by getting that coach. You got to have that coach, that mentor.
Yeah. And for the people who are listening, we have coaches. Our coaches have coaches. They're in masterminds. I'm in a mastermind that costs $1,500 a year. But there are masterminds out there that are $20,000 a year. My coach is in one. Those people have coaches. They're in masterminds that are even more expensive. Like, it's not just for people starting out. It's for everyone.
Mine's 10,000.
Yeah.
Mine's 10,000 a year. So,
yeah. And it's worth it. Like,
it is. You don't think so at first, but then once you doubts.
I've had many doubts.
Get
like,
in
I'm
there,
not a millionaire yet. Jeez, what's wrong?
Yeah. But that's the key, is like, people will blame the coach, right? They'll blame the coach for their failures, and they'll sit there and say, well, that coach wasted my money. He didn't know what he was doing. No, it's your fault, dummy. He tells you what to do. If you don't put the action and go out and do it, that's your own damn fault. You got to make sure that you do it. So
exactly. It's all about the action.
Yep.
Well, thanks. Right. This was really awesome. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
No, we need to do it again. I mean, like I said, we both have the same path. We want the same thing, and it's for the kids, and to hopefully make a difference in their life, at least change one kid's life. That's my goal. Anytime I speak, just one, get one. So hopefully this video gets at least one.
Yes.
And then it's an accomplishment.
And then that one can get someone else who can get someone else, and it just grows.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And yes, we will do this again.
Awesome, Gary. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing your thing. You're making a difference. And I know for a fact you will be successful, and you will have other kids be successful because of what you're doing. You keep doing what you're doing.
Well, thanks. I know exactly right back at you. Same for you. I mean, look what's happened for both of us in a year.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's possible. For everyone out there listening, it's possible.
Yeah, and I will be at Thrive in a couple weeks. So
will I. So I'll see you there.
You'll be there?
I will be there. Yep.
Awesome. Great.
Yep.
Definitely got to hook up and say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
Get a picture together, and I'll give you one of my books.
That sounds awesome. When I have my book, I'll give you one.
Awesome. Sounds good.
I don't have it yet. I have the idea. It's just working
Get it
on
out there. Action.
Yep.
Okay. Say bye.
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 Say hi. Hi and bye.
Bye.
This is another thing. You got to have a why to make things happen, your goals and dreams. And that's my why right over there. One of my whys. So
Yep.
awesome.
All right. See you later.
Thank you, Carrie. Take care.
Sure.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.